Good morning. We'll be starting in just a moment. Madam Chair, we're good to go. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Randy. Appreciate it. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this public hearing. This is the third public hearing that we are conducting to gather input regarding the proposed integration plans that will come to the Board of Governors for consideration next month. So I just want to remind everybody of the purpose behind these integrations. It is to expand opportunities for our students in the Commonwealth to help us preserve the rich on-campus experiences that our 14 institutions provide, all the while expanding our reach to better serve new students. Our current and future students need to know that we are committed to these institutions and to finding the best solutions to ensure that they are able to thrive for years and years to come. At the end of the day, integration is based on the premise that these universities can do more together than they can do alone. And so we're here to gather input as part of our inclusive and transparent effort to review the plans, which were developed with the help of more than 1,000 students, faculty, and staff. I want to thank everyone who contributed to the plans and everyone who was offering comment to help us make the plans be as good as they can be. I have already reviewed the first batch of public comments that are also posted online. I read every one of them, and I'm grateful to everyone who is engaging in this effort. I'm convinced that all of this feedback will result in stronger plans. And as chair of the Board of Governors, I also want to acknowledge my fellow board members who are watching on Zoom or YouTube. This is not a board meeting. There will be no roll call and no votes taken today. And I want to remind my colleagues that we're not here to engage in discussion with each other or with those offering comment. To do so would detract from their time to share their viewpoints. Our role in this hearing is to listen to the comments and consider how they might inform our own decision-making. So to get us started, let me turn it back over to Randy to share some logistical information.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, board members and everyone who's joined us today. First off, you should know we are recording these sessions on our YouTube channel so that everyone can view them and so that we can include the comments among those that we are collecting through our email and the website and through other means. All these comments that we're collecting over this 60-day period are being reviewed in an ongoing basis by the integrations teams so they can identify actionable items that could be incorporated in the plans. The teams are also working to identify any actionable items that may not necessarily affect the plans per se, but could inform other documents or processes or future implementation efforts. The comments are being uploaded in batches to the website so everyone can see them. And in July, we will provide the public and the board members with updated plans, along with a guide that outlines where those plans changed based on the comments that we're receiving. And as Cindy mentioned, since the board members are here to listen and not to speak during these public comment sessions, they are viewing this through the Zoom webinar or the YouTube channel and will not be on screen. While each of these hearings is officially designated for either the West or the Northeast, please know we are happy to hear comments on either or both during all of the hearings. So if you plan to and have comments about any of them, feel free to share them at any time. For those of you who plan to speak today, we're asking you to limit your comments to no more than 2 or 3 minutes so that everyone has a time and a chance to speak. If you have more to offer, you can come back later in the session and pick up again. Around the 2-minute mark, you'll see a counter come on the screen so that you know you've got a minute left in your final time allotment or in your time allotment. So with that, we're going to begin comments from those who pre-registered on the website, and then we'll move on to everyone else who raises their hand through the rest of the session. So let me just ask the following people to go ahead and click the raise hand feature, and you are those who pre-registered, and I'll call on you as you come in. Holiday, Ramona, Kate, Steve, Eric, Jocelyn, Todd, Sheila, Peter, Catherine, Jessica, Nada, Brett, Chris, Erin, Pat, Peggy, Gregory, Philip, Matt, Rick, Lisa, and Dana. If you heard your name or if you know you've pre-registered for that first bit, go ahead and raise your hand now. We'll do you first, and then we'll open the floor for everybody else. All right, so we'll just give folks a moment to do that. I see the hands coming in. All right, and we're going to start with Ramona, just so you all know how this works. I'll activate your ability to turn on your microphone and your camera if you like. And then once you're able to do that, you are free to start your comments. So welcome, Ramona.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Randy, for your assistance. I'm Ramona Bloomer. I'm assistant professor of theater at Lock Haven University. I've been teaching at Lock Haven since 2001. This is my second term as chair of visual and performing arts. And my comments today are about technology in the report. Just as a bit of information, I have a master's in instructional technology from Bloomsburg University and a doctoral degree in instructional technology from Duquesne. I've been teaching theater with technology since 2002. So in the report, the word technology is used about 121 times. Sometimes it's referring to information technology, and sometimes it's referring to instructional technology. It's clearly evident with the instructional technology what consolidation will do and bringing together the systems from all three universities related to the customer relationship management software and student information system software. That's clear. On the instructional technology side, the technology used for teaching and learning, that there's a desire, it mentions, to have academic program access between the three universities with online and face-to-face teach courses, but it doesn't explain how that will happen or the support. So for example, it would be helpful if the report included continuous training that's face-to-face and online, the opportunity for tutoring if needed for faculty, staff, and students, a repository of IT resources. It should indicate if the current LMS, the Learning Management System D2L, will continue to be used, or if there'll be a more cost-effective LMS. No one needs to be surprised if a new one is rolled out. Information about the ratio of faculty to IT support should be in the report. Extending access so that everyone has equitable access to high-speed internet and also to technology resources. Continuity of delivery and how the courses look, how they appear, so that students are not surprised or disappointed and they're getting a return on their investment. Training that is discipline specific. And I think that there should be a survey for technology satisfaction. Why are students saying they don't like it? This is an opportunity to get measurable results and finding out why, where problems could be solved and put into the report. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Great, thank you, Ramona. Next, we'll go to Holiday. Holiday will activate you so you can turn on your video and audio. Morning, welcome back.
Good morning, thank you. So my name is Holiday Adair and I work at California University of Pennsylvania. I'm here again to emphasize that I disagree with the plan and encourage you, the board, to reconsider implementing it. I'm thankful that my comments are coming after Dr. Bloomer's because a lot of what she is saying, it dovetails very much with what I'm about to suggest. You've heard others talk about their doubts about the funding issues. Is the state system in crisis? Will consolidation save money? Will it generate more money with increased enrollments? Other people have brought ideas that have a higher chance of addressing funding questions than the consolidation. My suggestions may have been mentioned, and many of them were mentioned by Dr. Bloomer, so I'm glad to repeat them for emphasis. consolidate technology products by pursuing system-wide contracts, one advising tool, one scheduling tool, all across the system. And if legislation prevents that, change the legislation. Promote and enhance online programs that already exist and are thriving. Find out why Pennsylvania residents are willing to spend money on for-profit pseudo-universities instead of earning or completing their degree at one of our state system universities, and provide that better, more cost-efficient alternative. Base a planned, gradual pursuit of cost savings within a structure of measurement and assessment, not just on cost savings, but also on the enhancement of student learning outcomes. Every standard in middle states requires assessment, and we cannot move forward in any effective way without measuring how successful those moves are on a variety of parameters, the most important one being student learning outcomes. I say all this about cost savings because it's painful to me, and it should be shameful to the legislature to see the videos and get the visits from students and faculty who are essentially begging for money from people whose responsibility it is to fund the state system. They are responsible by law to support our institutions. I'm actually just disgusted by it. And so students should be spending their time on campus growing in personal, intellectual, and social ways, and faculty should be guiding them in these pursuits, not spending their time begging for money. Thank you for your time.
Great, thank you so much, Holiday. Next, we'll go to Eric Hartman. Give Eric a moment to activate his audio and video.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Eric Hartman. I was born in York County, graduated from Lock Haven University, and live in Delaware County with my wife and 3 daughters. We're taxpayers interested in smart investment of limited public funds. And I urge the Board of Governors to vote no on the integration plan because it is risky, expensive, and unproven change in the middle of a global pandemic. It doesn't demonstrate how it will ensure access to high quality, affordable higher education across the Commonwealth, especially for students who are first in their families to go to college. When I speak today, I'm speaking for more than 200 other alumni and friends who have completed a brief survey that some friends and I sent out earlier this year. We who have organized this do not get any funding for it, and none of us who created the survey are employed by the state system. We just sent an email out to friends. Some of them forwarded it, then one of my friends built a website, papublics.org. Here's what we learned from doing an independent survey of alumni. With over 200 respondents, almost all of them, I work a lot with survey data, I've never seen this, 98% are absolutely or somewhat concerned about the retrenchments and consolidations. Respondents come from all across the state, representing more than 50 counties. When asked if they feel if there's been appropriate transparency regarding redesign, retrenchments, and integrations, 99% are dissatisfied with the transparency of the process. I understand the public is fickle and change is hard, so these extraordinarily high rates of citizen dissatisfaction wouldn't necessarily concern me if we'd seen a proven solution at the end of the plan, but we haven't seen that. Please vote no on a plan that calls for consolidation of universities in the regions of the state that exactly have the lowest higher education access. Please vote no on a plan that takes an incredibly smart public investment that gets a 10-to-1 return on investment and guts it, leaving rural communities with scraps and vague promises about online learning. Please vote no on a plan that further undermines investment in the state system that actually outperforms its peers. Find it elsewhere, stop subsidizing the racehorse industry, or find another solution. The state budget is large, higher education is an important public investment. We have a system that we can be proud of. Please stop gutting it and start leveraging it. Recruit, innovate, find a way to grow from strengths. Please vote no on this unproven integration plan, and please go to papublics.org for more information on our independent alumni and friends efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, we're going to Nada. Promote you to a panelist so that you can turn on your microphone. Nita? Seem to have lost Nita. Nita, if you want to come back, re-raise your hand, we'll bring you back in. In the meantime, we'll go to Gregory. Oh, there you are.
Sorry, guys, I lost signal for just a moment there.
We can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. Okay. Just to introduce myself, I teach physics and astronomy at Bloomsburg University, and I'm going to take an opportunity to address the finances first. If you're not aware, the current administration has set aside $62 billion, at least in the plan level, to enhance student achievement through retention and completion efforts. Now, within the American Families Plan, there is $200 billion set aside within the plan for a grant program for colleges and universities that serve high numbers of low-income students. If we go back to what our chair said a little while ago, everything that we're talking about is aligned with these federal plans. So let's take a look at what we've done with the consolidation or integration, whatever you want to call it. Financially, it looks very ill-conceived, and it's uniquely badly timed after the unprecedented disruptions of instruction due to COVID-19, both for students and faculty. Since throughout this process, you have asked us to give you actionable suggestions and input, I would like to say that a delay may be the right way forward, with time to reconsider what we've done so far with all the inputs that have been mentioned that have to be added, the information that has to be added to what we have so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Gregory. We'll give Gregory a moment to come into the space. Good morning. We hear you. We see you.
Yes, good morning, everybody. My name is Gregory Peak. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak this morning. I speak on behalf of Lock Haven University, and I speak in opposition to the integration plan, or at least strongly considering a delay. Part of my relationship to Lock Haven University is through a local museum in Lock Haven called the Piper Aviation Museum. And there at the Piper Aviation Museum, I serve on the board of directors. And in particular, I'm head of the library and archive there at the museum. And in my role as head of the library and archive at the museum, I'm in charge of student internship program that we've had with Lock Haven University for many years, before even I came onto the scene. And I went back into our archives and looked up the records of all the student internships from Lock Haven University that had served at our museum. And they range a wide gamut of students who participated, history majors who wrote up family histories connecting local Lock Haven families with their loved ones who had worked for the Piper Corporation. Theater and drama students who had volunteered for the museum to conduct plays or to engage in role-playing activities for summer camps. Social studies education majors who had gone to the Piper Aviation Museum in an effort to use its resources to create lesson plans and classroom work materials for their student teaching. And art and fine arts majors who have gone to access the library's vast collection of photographs and paintings, and have even curated museum and gallery exhibitions. And these are all events that have taken place within the community. They have deepened ties between the museum, the university, the community, and the students who have served as part of the internship program. My understanding of the plan is that of the 4 majors and the students from those majors who participated in our internship, that those programs will be gone, and that those student opportunities will be lost. And as a result, there'll be continued fraying of the connections between the university and the museum, and between the museum and the community. And as others have said, have just gone through a pandemic. The pandemic has put tremendous hardship on the museum, and we feel it imperative to advocate for the retention of these programs, the retention of these opportunities for the students, so that they can best serve our museum, and we as a museum can best serve the community of Lock Haven. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Gregory. Next, we'll go to Matt. Morning, Matt.
Morning, Randy. Morning, everyone. Appreciate the ability to meet with you all here today. My name is Matt Guertin, and I've been a professor of communication at Lock Haven University for 20 years. But my involvement in the state system goes back much further than that. I grew up 10 miles from Bloomsburg, where I swam in Centennial as a Boy Scout, and my mom earned 2 graduate degrees. In high school, I took music lessons in Mansfield. I received my master's at Bloom, and my first job as an adjunct at Shippensburg. So, in other words, I know the impact these schools have on their students and on their communities. I cannot imagine that those who crafted and approved Act 50 intended for the process of consolidation to be this rushed. In my experience and from what I've heard from my colleagues, this has not been a deliberative process. There are far too many questions left unanswered and troubling figures in this report. First, this merger, like those in Georgia before it, does not save money. Second, many contractual issues are still being negotiated. Third, it is unknown whether or not there will be athletics at all campuses, and if so, whether D1 sports will keep that status. And I need to remind everyone that fully 20% of our students, a fifth of our students at Lock Haven, are athletes. Finally, there's a lack of buy-in from key stakeholders, and even solutions that are difficult to swallow have a modicum of supporters to champion that cause. In his book, Diffusion of Innovations, communication theorist Everett Rogers considers that to be a critical component for change. However, a recent survey of faculty showed that less than 8% were in favor of consolidation, while 70% were not supportive. A survey by the system itself showed 67% of Bloom, 61% of LHU, and 25% of Mansfield students would be less interested and less likely to attend the proposed consolidated school. Last, there's a buy-in from my community in the surrounding area. Both our city council and county commissioners have come out against this proposal because of the unknown and potentially dire impact it will have on our local economy. Are there ideas that could help with fiscal sustainability? Absolutely. My school had a plan proposed by our previous president that would have put us on that path with modest increases in enrollment and with attrition. However, doing something shouldn't mean doing whatever. Let's not mix up the process and fire before we're aiming or ready. Please vote no on consolidation, and I implore you, let's be allies and work together to find solutions. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Next, we'll go to Chris Dunn.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, so yesterday I heard Pashi dismiss critical feedback as a messaging problem, not one of substance. I work for ABSCUF, and I had the pleasure of reading through these plans, listening to the board meetings, and watching the chancellor testify. The preamble to every discussion or presentation of this plan is a crisis narrative about financial unsustainability, enrollment declines, student unaffordability, cross-subsidization, etc. I need to stress this presentation is a rhetorical bait and switch, as none of these issues are materially addressed in this plan. Furthermore, the analysis accompanying it is incredibly superficial. For example, the financial projections for the consolidated institutions assume as a counterfactual, not plausible numbers where we continue without integration, but one where our schools have 0% growth rates in both revenue and expenses. In essence, it benchmarks against a situation where we relive fiscal year 2023 indefinitely. That analysis is irrelevant to the decision you are being confronted with as board members, but it is labeled, quote, net positive impacts, unquote, in slide presentations to the board. The cross-subsidization narrative is equally absurd. It labels the differential from a flat per student FTE funding as a subsidy. The funding formula is already the prerogative of the board. We can change it at will. If the ideal is 14 independent schools, there is no need for a system. And of course, nothing in the plan actually addresses cross-subsidization, even if you think it is an issue. The remaining items like dual enrollment and work study can of course already be done without consolidation. And if they are a good idea, they ought to be implemented more widely and not arbitrarily restricted to the 6. We collectively, as Pennsylvanians, have been entrusted with a passing guardianship of an incredibly valuable public inheritance. I ask that we don't dismiss opposition to this plan as motivated by ignorance, fear, or resistance to change. There's nothing bold or heroic about being driven by bad data. If we want to be data-driven, we need to critically assess the quality of the data that we are being presented with. I'd encourage everyone to ask themselves what problem they believe is addressed by this plan, and then to check that it is actually addressed in there and not just affixed as a confusing and irrelevant appendage. I urge the board to vote against this plan, and that is clearly absent in both rigor and purpose. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Chris. Next, we will go to Lisa. Give Lisa a moment to activate her audio and video.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Huebner. I am a product of public education, a parent of a middle schooler, and a professor at Westchester University. I'm joining you this morning to urge you to vote no on these plans. As so many people have already said many times, this plan is short-sighted, will not help students, and will destroy small communities throughout the Commonwealth. It will also destroy working people's lives and the lives of their families. The plan is vague, unclear, contradictory, and does not speak on behalf of the citizens of our Commonwealth. It conveys a clear devaluing of public education and a misunderstanding of the kind of teaching I have been doing for the past 14 years. This plan also does not save money in the way it claims because it lists things that students already do. It will not lower tuition or room and board. The cost to consolidate will not incur savings in any way and will have terrible economic impacts on local communities. The chancellor says student success is his goal, but this plan does not put students first. It will hurt Pennsylvania, not help us. Anytime, but especially during a pandemic, approving this plan would be morally reprehensible. And I'm certain that each of you, our Board of Governors, do not want that on your conscience. There are better solutions. I, for one, am especially compelled by Nancy Van Arsdale's suggestions to pause and take more time to research and test pilot projects and support projects that are already working. As a public sociologist, this makes sense to me. Also, asking the state for more funding is obvious good sense. Our students are amazing and they deserve a plan that fosters them and what will be their future contributions to Pennsylvania. Please take more time to come up with better solutions. Please take time to consider the valuable insights offered by our alumni, like Eric Hartman this morning, our students, our faculty, and our community members. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, we will go to Dana Washington. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dana Washington, and I've taught English at Lock Haven for 15 years. I served on an integration subcommittee and a field-specific subcommittee with wonderful colleagues from Bloomsburg and Mansfield. Prior to the pandemic, my colleagues and I all underreported our hours in the Snyder reports. Yeah, we lied, because to claim more than 60 hours of work per week would have required an additional written explanation none of us had time for. During the pandemic, we spent even more hours outside of class listening to our students, often hearing about their personal lives in ways that caused vicarious trauma in ourselves. I showed up early for class via Zoom and left late to give students the opportunity to speak privately. Most days ended with me in tears, switching off the computer near midnight and feeling helpless to help them beyond listening, offering comfort and suggestions when I could, and referring them to ever more stretched university resources. During the remote learning semesters, I heard more stories than ever about students being unable to quit jobs or leave relatives behind. Even before then, many of my students had no other choice than to attend LHU if they wanted to go to college face-to-face. Most had jobs that filled so much of their time and energy beyond class that there was little energy or time for the assignments to be done for the next time. Some of my students told me they'd come here for a specific major only to find it had just been canceled and that they could not afford to go elsewhere. Increasingly, my classes have been filled with less diversity in majors, making it clear that only those students who wanted those half dozen or so choices could get their educations close to home, where they could afford it. My department has been told to forget about national standards and the recommendations for class size caps. All decisions are now based on numbers and come from the top down with the apparent assumption that this plan will absolutely be approved. There is no expectation of saving money through integration, no plans to cut tuition, and no expansion of opportunities beyond those that have been long available. My students, almost all of them deemed essential workers during the pandemic, and every one of them essential to their families and to the future well-being of the Commonwealth, even more specifically to the underserved local area, deserve far better. Please look at what other systems have done to see this plan will save no money, further limit opportunities for students who already have limited choices and less means, and destroy the economies of the underserved regions in which the smaller universities are found. Please vote no or delay and give the universities the 5 years for turning things around that we were promised. For the sake of our students now and the future of the Commonwealth, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dana. And next we will go to Monica. Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, you might have to flip this. So I'm a student at Westchester, and I've been a student for 8 years because I'm disabled and I am autistic, and sometimes I need to take medical leave. And that really sucks. And what also sucks is that it's very hard for me to find a job to pay for my tuition. And we all know, Board of Governors, actually, I'm gonna, 1 second. Great, this is great. I'm really glad you made me a panelist. I just took a screenshot of everyone who's at the meeting. Just for transparency's sake, for the public's sake. I'm also a part of a group called Pashy Defenders. We're holding rallies for everyone who's speaking. I love that everyone's against the proposition. We're holding rallies. We're going to Lock Haven, Mansfield, and Bloomsburg this Saturday. We're going to have press there. We're going to have speakers there. If you would like to be a speaker, all the faculty, I love it. Please get in contact with me. My phone number is 610-574-1882. You can email us at Pashy Defenders. We're also going to the other 3 schools last weekend of June. If anyone is there, holiday, I'd love to get in contact with you. We have meetings every Thursday at 7 p.m. to fight this. Board of Governors, I know that you have heard every reason under the sun to do the right thing. And so far, you have not done the right thing. You are a board of 20 people choosing to lay off 1,500 people. And for what? And for what personal or political gain? I don't understand. You're ruining people's lives. You're destroying, families' right to work, to earn a living. You have no idea what these people's lives are like, and and you don't care. And we know you don't care because we've had meetings with you. We've, you know, we're playing by your games right now by coming to your sessions that are moderated by you, and that you have no and we're going to get no feedback from you in the name of professionalism, I suppose. And you know, that's really a lot of bullshit. I've been teaching for 7 years. I taught virtually this year, and a lot of my phone calls, and I said phone calls, not Zoom calls. A lot of my phone calls are phone calls because my students don't have internet, like reliable internet where they are. And these are like middle school kids. And so what is the solution? The solution is more online learning. I'm all for online learning for some majors, but I'm a music teacher. You can't teach music online. That's some nonsense. And also, I know that having been a music teacher and watching all my music teachers get their positions in the K through 12 schools get slashed and budget cuts, like music and arts, always first to go. We know that this is a fight that's not going to be over, like just because you guys voted next month. This fight is going to continue, and you're going to continue to slash. Like, we used to have an East Stroudsburg music program, and now that was in 2014, it got slashed, and now there's only 6 classes. And I know this because my East Stroudsburg comrades have to come from East Stroudsburg to go to Westchester instead of just going to East Stroudsburg, which is right next door. They can't go to East Stroudsburg anymore. They have to pay, you know, housing, room and board is more expensive than actual tuition, and they have to pay that now, instead of being able to commute from their houses because you guys decided to slash those programs. And so we know that consolidation, I mean, it's not the end. You're going to continue to slash programs. And again, I ask you for why? Why? For what political gain? For what personal gain? Because we all know that, you know, if we can publicly fund K through 12 education, we can publicly fund college for all. Other countries have done it. It's not out of the question. It's not a pipe dream. And again, I'd like to say faculty and students, community members, alumni, everybody, we're going to be reaching out to you. I love that this is being recorded. We're going to reach out to you, and we're going to connect to you, and we're going to get you involved. And, you know, Board of Governors, we're watching, we're reading all the reports, and we're getting the word out. So please be aware the public is watching, and the people demand free college for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Next, we'll go to Erin. Erin, we'll give you a moment to come into this space.
Hi, everyone.
Good morning.
First, I would like to thank everybody who has spoken at these and other forums. I'd really love to give you like a thumbs up or an applause reaction, but I can't. So thank you for all your comments. My name is Erin Kennedy. I teach at Lock Haven University. I was one of the hundreds of faculty members who worked on the consolidation plan. And like most of them, I did so out of fear. I do not endorse this plan, and I ask you, the Board of Governors, to vote no on this plan. I already need more than 2 hands to count the number of faculty, staff, students, and even managers who have left LHU ahead of the proposed changes. These people are not rats, but they are definitely jumping a sinking ship. One student, so this is a real life student, one of my advisees, really broke my heart. She was an outstanding student, nominated for a prestigious award in our department, really active in classes. She held a 3.985 GPA, so that's all A's, 1 A minus. And I was trying to reach out to her about registering for fall classes, and she responded to tell me that she was transferring because, quote, the changes being made to LHU do not align with the university where I want to finish my degree. The changes being made to LHU do not align with the university where I want to finish my degree. So she's leaving. Her choice might relate to some of the many negative impacts of the plan on students that have been outlined by many different speakers. What I want to highlight is the forced hybrid learning element of the plan and going a little bit beyond others' comments related to equity and access. First, we obviously just spent a really difficult year in online teaching. This is something that nobody preferred. My colleague Dana Washington outlined this very, very well. I taught multimodal, so in-person plus Zoom. And after that experience, I think I maybe know 10% of my students, 5% of them, maybe I could pick out of a crowd. And this is not for lack of trying. It's very, very difficult to connect with students and for students to connect with each other in this format. Connecting with students is what we do. It's who we are. I can see a former student 10 years later and say, oh yeah, I remember you. Didn't you sit on the right side of the room, like kind of towards the back? Wasn't your hair blonde back then? We know our students. Second, we're forcing students to take online courses to finish their degrees, and nobody knows how many because it's not in the plan. This is already happening at LHU with students being put into online classes, our new incoming freshmen. So there was a survey of students, right? Also not in the plan. And that tells us really how students feel. So at LHU, nearly 2/3 of students say that having to take online classes would decrease their interest in and likelihood of attending LHU. 2/3 would be unlikely to pursue a major that requires distance learning, and more than 2/3 disagree that the consolidation would benefit future students. And the plan itself acknowledges this problem, right? So the plan states potential exists for students not to attend due to the extent of online curriculum. This is not who we are. We know our students in real life. Online education has its place for students who choose it willingly, but just being behind a computer screen like this doesn't work. It's not what we want or need. It's not what they want or need. This is a bad plan for our students, and I strongly urge you to vote no, and instead to fight for fair funding for higher education in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. And I'm sorry. Sorry. Thank you, Erin. Next, we're going to Peggy. And we'll give Peggy a moment to come into the space.
Good morning. I'm Peggy Detweiler. I'm Director of Choral Activities at Mansfield University and have been so since 1990. So I do have a long history of being in the state system and watching as leadership and decisions are made. I am very concerned about this integration plan. I feel like it is rushed and that we need to take more time to see how it will really impact students, and particularly, will it really save money? As I mentioned, being in the state system for 31 years, I am aware of the challenges of recruiting and that our enrollment has been declining. Some of this, I think a lot of it is related to our tuition. And as Holiday mentioned earlier, the state leadership should be shamed for the fact that we're 48th in the country in terms of state support. We have the third highest tuition, and we have a huge student debt. Our tuition is $9,841, and the average for the country is $6,000. So I do believe that in some ways we are here because the 14 state universities have been mismanaged. Other state systems identify programs in specific universities, and they put their energy and resources into those programs in terms of expanding the strengths of the university. And we've had tried to have like 14 comprehensive universities, and that's been part of our problem. But primarily, I believe it's the funding in the state, and somehow we have to make the message clear that it is shameful that we rank so low in terms of state support. So I hope you delay this vote and look at the implications of the plan more clearly. But I thank you for all the energy you've put into trying to give an answer to our problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Peggy. And next we'll go to Rick. Give Rick a moment to come into the space.
Good morning. My name is Rick Goulet. I'm an associate professor of history at Lock Haven University, where I've worked for 20 years. I encourage the Board of Governors to vote no on the proposed consolidation integration plans. There are many things that can be said in opposition to these plans that you are hearing. You're hearing many of them in these hearings. I would like to direct my comments, as some of my colleagues have, at the impact it will have on students. I've heard it said many times from system sources that students are excited about these consolidation plans. However, no real data has been offered to substantiate this claim of student excitement. This is one of the several aspects of the false narrative that has been part of PR associated with this process. In April, however, the Northeast Integration Group paid Beyond Blue Consulting to conduct a student survey to gauge student opinions about the Northeast Consolidation Plan. The results do not exhibit student excitement about the plan, rather quite the contrary. The survey question, quote, imagine you are a potential incoming student for fall 2022. With the new integrated university, you would have an expanded selection of majors to choose from, but may have to take some classes via distance learning. How might the new array of offered programs and majors affect your decision to attend the integrated university, unquote. 67% of Bloomsburg students, 61% of Lock Haven students indicated a, quote, decreased interest and likelihood of attendance to this new integrated university. 55% of Mansfield students indicated this would either not impact or would decrease their interest and likelihood of attending the new integrated university. Another survey result indicated that 50% of Bloomsburg students and 65% of Lock Haven students were very unlikely or unlikely, quote, to pursue a major if you had to take some percentage of required courses in a distance learning format, unquote. Less than 1/3 of students at any of these three universities said they were likely or very likely to pursue such a major. The system's own survey of Northeast students indicates little to no excitement about this plan and the so-called increased programmatic opportunities it promises. To make this comment more personal, the survey results do not surprise me at all. I know after 20 years teaching students largely from central Pennsylvania that they not only prefer but benefit from the high quality educational experiences they get from more traditional face-to-face classes, from smaller class sizes, from getting to know and working with their professors personally, and from the type of education that the state system of higher education offers now and was originally mandated to provide, affordable, accessible, and life-changing. PASHE's integration plans will not deliver this. The faculty who actually know the students understand this, and the students know it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And we'll be going to Brett next. And while we go to Brett, just a reminder, if anyone would like to ask a question, just click the raise hand feature and we'll call on you in the order in which those hands come in. So
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Oh, good. My name is Brett Everhart, and I'm a faculty member at Lock Haven University. And I also serve as the chair of the Department of Health and Physical Education and the special assistant to the provost for assessment. I can't imagine the challenge each of you face as leaders of the system with all that's going on. Just financial strains, everything, something needs to be done. But I'm here to ask you to reconsider the integration and in particularly how LHU is involved. I cannot speak for the other schools. I'm aware of comments that they're making that they too are not happy with it. But I want to share with you why I feel that you should think again of including LHU in the way that you are. Although I believe Dr. Hanna would do his best to lead, if this went through. First of all, LHU has consistently ranked in the top 4 or 5 in the state system for how we perform on performance funding according to the strategic plan goals. In fact, we've been ranked tied for first a couple times, second another time, and I believe this year somewhere 4 or 5, something like that. we know our issues been enrollment has declined, but we're working hard to fix that. In fact, last year we set a 10-year record, I believe, in increased enrollment and retention. In fact, my academic program, we've got about 130 students. We had 96% retention from first year to second year a year ago. You know, that when 92 in our program, 4% more stayed at the university. So that just gives you an idea that we're doing everything we can on campus. And my faculty colleagues are working so hard in their own programs to do this. I feel that you should let us try to keep doing the things that we're implementing. We've got some good people trying to do it. Also, our recent middle stage pre-visit, the site chair has been like, I've heard he's amazing, you know, and he said that the report that he read and the conversations he had just in March show that he's not seen equality like that in all of his times as chair. So that should tell you the structure, the work we're doing. You know, we're doing what we can. You know, so there's no question that we need to deal with a few issues, low enrollment, but we're showing that we can. The other thing is our local businesses are scared to death. Our community will not be the same if this goes through. People are leaving. So please reconsider including us in the way that you are. We can help with another school if there's course delivery issues or whatever. But I'm asking you to look at our performance and that we're really doing some things right now to right this. And again, I appreciate the challenges that you have and wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Next, we'll go to Todd. And as we go to Todd, we'll just remind folks, if you do have a question, just click raise hand and we will bring you into the space to ask, to make a comment. Getting these confused with our Q&A sessions we've done over the past couple of months. All right, and Todd, there you go.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Todd Newcomer. I was born in York County. I graduated from Lock Haven, and I now live in the Allentown area for the past 20 years with my wife and 4 children. I come to you this morning as an alumni of a state school, a small business owner. My wife's a small business owner, and most likely we're the parents of 4 future state school students. So we're urging the Board of Governors to vote no to this integration plan. It has not demonstrated how it will ensure access to high quality, affordable higher education across the Commonwealth, especially for students who are the first in their families to go to college. Please vote no on a plan that calls for consolidation of universities in the regions of the state with the lowest access to higher education already. Please vote no on a plan that takes an incredibly smart public investment that gets a 10-to-1 return and guts it, leaving rural communities with higher unemployment and vague promises about online learning. Please vote no on a plan that further undermines investment in the state system that is already outperforming its peers around the country. Good investments take money. Being 48th in the country in student spending isn't good enough. Please take the long view, give the schools a directive to recruit, find money somewhere else in the budget. Higher education is an important public investment. We already have a system we can be proud of. Please do not gut it. Please vote no on this integration plan. I thank you for your time this morning. Wish you the best.
Thank you, Todd. And next we'll go to Peter Campbell. Give Peter a moment to come into the space.
Hello, Randy. Thank you for allowing me to talk. Good morning to everybody. I'm a first-generation college student, family of 6, the first one to go to college, originally coming from Northern Ireland, and have been at Lock Haven University for 22 years this August. I've been a coach. I've been an athletic administrator for 10, 12 years, and I've also been a faculty member, and I'm currently the chair of the Sports Studies Department and the former president of the local chapter of APSCA. I've served on PSAC committees and also served as chair of 2 national NCAA committees. I'm basically asking for the Board of Governors to vote no on this proposal for integration and for the merger. And why? My reasons are that the concern that the plan is not complete and it will not benefit our students. One of the goals is to expand opportunities, and I failed to see how the current plan will achieve this. Some of my concerns and why I believe the plan is incomplete. First of all, a very basic function. We don't even have a name for this yet. Very simple. We don't have accreditation approval. We don't know from the NCAA about athletic programs on the 3 campuses. Well, they will have 3 independent athletic programs. I'm sure the Board of Governors has received from the Office of the Chancellor all the information with regards to the NCAA questions on mergers and follow-up questions. This is a merger the NCAA is considering, and hopefully you've had that information and had the opportunity to review it and to see what the concerns of the NCAA are moving forward. I also have concerns about that because we haven't even discussed the concept of Division I programs. Will we have wrestling at Lockhaven, Bloomsburg, both campuses, Clarion, Edinburgh, both campuses? We don't know, just as one example, and it'll be the same with all of the sports. We don't have organizational charts or reporting lines directly established for this new proposal. We've been told that it's going to save money, but in anything that we have seen, we're losing $7 million over 5 years. We do have, as referenced by some of my colleagues, a faculty survey that was conducted by APSCA that indicates that of the 1,000 faculty who were involved in this process, most of them were involved out of fear, out of concerns for their jobs, out of concerns for their colleagues, for their departments, for their programs disappearing. Just like in the last 3 hearings, today included, we've had probably 200-300 comments. Only one has been supportive of this integration. Just like out of the 1,000, many are not supportive of this proposal, even though it keeps being heralded in all of the PR media. The student survey by management in the Northeast indicates that this is definitely something that the students don't want. And of course, economically, the Perry report and the PASHE 2015 economic impact show the detrimental effects of this on our local communities. What's the current impact of this? Well, we're starting to see that this impacts our 6 institutions with declining enrollment based on the threat of the merger and the integration. It is scaring students away. They are voting with their feet. So therefore, for these reasons, I'm requesting that you vote no on this proposed merger and integration. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we'll go to Gayatri and then Daniel. Gayatri, an opportunity to come into the space.
Thank you, Randy. I'm appealing to the Board of Governors to vote against the consolidation. I will list my reasons here. I'm Gayatri Devi, and I teach in the English department at LHU. I represent all the students I have taught and mentored in the last 16 years of my tenure here. I played a distinct part in building their futures as graduate students, lawyers, editors, writers, and secondary education high school English teachers. The tuition they paid to Lockhaven University gave them a full, wholesome, well-rounded university education as graduates of Lockhaven University, an institution in name and an institution in substance. My students know me, I know them. The proposed consolidation of the 3 universities strikes at the heart of the teacher-student relationship by fragmenting the organic and wholesome experience of a university education for our students. It breaks up their degree plans into online and face-to-face courses, potentially to be taken at 3 different campuses. The past 1 year of the pandemic-enforced Zoom modality has categorically shown that students do not like online learning. A great many students simply disappeared. Enrollments are at an all-time low. I find that the proposed consolidation plan imitates and mimics through proposals, blogs, and emails sent to students and faculty the living physical and material structures of higher education, but without its substance. It appears to be a shell game. Just last week, the Associated Press reported that our state has recovered handsomely from the COVID pandemic. According to the Revenue Department, the state's main operating account collection was $36.6 billion in May, which is almost $3 billion or 8.5% above estimate with 1 month left to go. In addition, Pennsylvania has received $7.3 billion from the American Rescue Plan signed by President Biden in March. I request the Board of Governors and legislators to fund public education. Pennsylvania has the money in its budget. Now funding public education needs to become a priority. Our students in our public universities, mostly rural, deserve the very best and the very same opportunities provided by the more tuition and fee-heavy schools. Our faculty are as credentialed, hardworking, loyal, and caring as any faculty anywhere in the world. Our students from our rural communities deserve a chance at making their lives successful with affordable tuition and a university education that is wholesome and substantial and not piecemeal, fragmented, diluted, and badly stitched together. As a wise man once noted, the purpose of education is not merely to help you get a job. As a wise man once noted, the purpose of education is not merely to get you a job, but also to stop another educated person from exploiting you. I request the board to vote no to the consolidation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gayatri. Now we'll go to Daniel. Daniel and then Tina. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here to state that I think that this plan should be turned down, should be voted no, should be at least delayed for reasons I'm going to state. But my first point is, why are you letting them off the hook? Before any reorganization occurs, it is up to the legislature of this Commonwealth to decide if they're willing to fund higher education at an appropriate and responsible level. Now, regarding the idea of planning at all, my logical training tells me that a conclusion based upon a false premise cannot be considered legitimate. While all input is currently being accepted, statements have been made, including during this session, that imply that only input that pertains to elements of the existing reorganization plan is going to be considered. This assumes the plan is solid, that it can accomplish its goals under the current situation. But any plan is going to be massively flawed. And that is because of the false premise that the system can remain viable under the current level of state funding for higher education. Without that commitment under this plan, it is realistic to believe that there is a tangible possibility that the schools in Lock Haven, Mansfield, Edinburgh, and Clarion, as well as some others, may eventually close, which would devastate those towns economically. Under the plan's provisions, these schools will be gutted academically and be rendered unable to serve their constituencies. Many of those students, including the ones who get the rug pulled out from under them, protestations to the contrary aside, will go to other states for their education, and many of them will not be back after they graduate. That's just a fact. When people go to college somewhere else, they usually don't come back. Put the ball where it belongs. Find out if the legislature is serious. If they are, then it's time to formulate an effective process. Starting point should be the 3 studies at $500,000 a throw sitting out there whose conclusions, which proved correct, were ignored, mostly by departed administrators. Planning should be based upon the opinions of experts and the honest consideration of the input of affected stakeholders. Include the faculty as full participants, which is not occurring now. 1 faculty per institution, that's 0.28%, less than 0.3% representation. Faculty, and this inclusion of faculty as the official representatives in the process screams lip service. A previous chancellor liked to call us talented, except when our talents would have tended to expose the harebrained nature of his ideas, which regrettably was quite often. Faculty input should not be feared. It should be welcomed and solicited in a substantial manner. If you want to get it right, almost done, you need to have substantial input from the one group that actually contacts students on a daily basis. As it stands, a yes vote provides cover for legislators who should be forced to publicly declare their priorities to the voters they will disenfranchise. Let them be held accountable. My final statement is this. This plan and other, hey, finances are hard, we know, but people are afraid. I hope that we will always take into account their sensitivities and make statements that show empathy for what people will suffer as events proceed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Next, we'll go to Tina and then Lisa. Just gives Tina a moment for the connection to take place. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, that took a little bit to boot up there. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Tina Shirelli-Helminiak, and I am a proud product of the PASHE system. Shippensburg University gave me opportunity, beginning with acceptance through the Act 101 program, and then again as a full-time adjunct instructor in my first faculty position. Currently, I am a tenured faculty at Westchester University. Not to toot my own horn, but these are amazing accomplishments for a low-income kid raised by a single mother in Reading, Pennsylvania. I cannot underestimate how the PASHE system impacted my life trajectory. I'm also one of 7 PASHE graduates between mine and my husband's families, with 5 of us being first-generation college students, and all but me currently living in Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania, a small town you may have passed on your way to Lock Haven. 2 of our family members were star baseball players who would not have attended LHU if there was no sports program. My first actionable request is that the Board of Governors, at minimum, delay their vote until after the NCAA has ruled on the future of athletics. I am also a social worker. We are amid a mental health crisis, statewide and nationally. 5 of the 6 universities being proposed for integration have accredited social work education programs. Social workers provide most of the mental health services across our Commonwealth. The integration plan jeopardizes the social work profession and mental health services throughout our state, especially in rural parts where access to services is already limited. My second actionable request is that the Chancellor, PASHE staff, and Board of Governors actively advocate for the enactment of the Nellie Bly Scholarship, which would help at least 44,000 students afford college in PASHE schools, some of whom would undoubtedly be seeking a social work degree. My own research and that of other scholars in numerous fields has found that the corporatization of public higher education leads to faculty burnout. Even if you see faculty as expendable, public higher education is a public good, not a profitable business. My third actionable request is that the Chancellor, PASHE staff, and Board of Governors actively advocate for a fully funded state system of higher education, which will boost enrollment, lower debt, and move Pennsylvania from the bottom of the states in support of higher education. Let's do this the right way and not rush into a plan that could economically devastate local communities, impact mental health services, and actually decrease enrollment in our state universities. Let's get all state legislators, not just the ones with universities in their district, onto all of our 14 campuses to understand the impact public higher education has on individuals, families, and communities. Let's build up the PASHE system, not tear it down. A college degree is one of the most effective interventions for upward class mobility in the United States. Doesn't every Pennsylvania high school student deserve the same opportunities I had? Once again, I thank you for this opportunity to provide comment, and I ask you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. And next we'll go to Lisa and then Melissa. We'll give Lisa a moment to come into the space.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you in advance. I am Lisa Stahlbaumer-Beischlein. I'm a history professor at Bloomsburg University, and I urge the Board of Governors to vote no. The new plan promises to expand access to majors in a new U, yet improving recruitment, retention, and completion can be pursued without consolidation. Students may benefit by being offered more course and program major options, yet large numbers of students select our campuses for the residential experience. They crave the social presence of classmates and faculty, but they may be forced to take their upper division courses using distance education. The discussions about how these courses will be made available to students at all three campuses has been muddled and disingenuous. In the Northeast plan on page 67, or if you're going by PDF pages, page 71, they acknowledge that there could be a loss of enrollment if courses are moved online. Why would students select the so-called Northeast New U, which by the way, it's not in the Northeast, and risk taking courses remotely when they can select so many other universities and still get the residential experience? The program array listed in the plan prioritizes programs that are workforce ready according to current trends. I am skeptical of prioritizing majors based on trends, especially when we are in the midst of a world crisis. Career readiness resources, for example, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, repeatedly demonstrate that critical thinking and excellent communication skills are highly desirable qualities taught at comprehensive four-year institutions. What happens to programs that are not trend-worthy? They experience hiring freezes that leads to stagnation, and that's death by 1,000 cuts. I have no objection to teaching online, and I believe quality teaching and learning can occur online. In a survey on our campus, we find some, if not many, students might welcome taking their gen eds online, but that they prefer to take their upper division major courses face-to-face. The plan has been vague, to say the least, on how students will take their major courses if the instructor is, say, at Bloomsburg, but they're enrolled at Mansfield or Lock Haven. Will the course be forced online so every student has equal learning experiences? Will students be compelled to drive to the campus where the instructor is located? Will students and faculty conduct part of their learning online, then meet in a joint location once every 2 to 3 weeks? That is hybrid. Most likely, it's going to be a high flex approach, not hybrid, that requires the course be made available in 3 formats at once. This high flex model is not going to appeal to students who want residential experiences, especially for courses in their majors. I have one more paragraph. The plan has not, in good faith, addressed these questions. Let's consider timeline and opportunities. This past winter, we were told to see integration as an opportunity. And when I heard that, I thought, great. If I were to start from scratch, what would the 21st century history major look like? Yet these subgroups met to discuss the program arrays were not representing necessarily all voices within the disciplinary groups. And it is disingenuous to suggest that because faculty participated in these conversations, it's proof of our support. It's actually proof of our professionalism and our responsibility to our students and our disciplines. These conversations were rushed, and if the Board of Governors approves this plan in mid-July, we're told that we now have to have our new U programs ready by November to meet deadlines for the registrar and computing. This is not going to be a timeline that encourages innovation, research, contemplation, dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And next we'll go to Melissa and then Peter after that. And again, if you have a comment you'd like to make, just click the raise hand feature and we'll add you to the queue and call on you in the order in which you hands are raised. Welcome, Melissa.
Hello, my name is Melissa Pierce. I am a current Clarion staff member and have been for almost 14 years. I was born and raised in Clarion County, and I was a first-generation college student. I'm a proud graduate of Clarion, achieving both my undergraduate and graduate degrees from here. And my son will attend Clarion in the fall. Over the past 10 years, we have been right-sizing according to enrollment trends here at Clarion. Our current leadership, from our deans to our provost to our president, is better than any time I've been here at Clarion. Our retention numbers have increased, our 4-year graduation numbers have increased, and we work hard here. We do more with less. That is something that I see day in and day out, how hard everyone works for our students' success, how hard everyone works for our institution, and yet we still struggle more than the larger state institutions. It isn't a secret. So what does PASHE suggest that the smaller schools do? Suddenly, the integration was proposed. It seemed rushed, and quite frankly, the timeline seemed outrageous. I questioned how well it was thought out when, after the initial Western integrations were stated as Clarion and Cow and Slippery Rock and Edinburgh were suggested, within a short period of time, Slippery Rock was no longer in the mix. And suddenly it was Clarion, Cow, and Edinburgh were integrating. How well was this plan thought out? I have worked on 2 subgroups, and these people have worked incredibly hard, which I know we have been, given credit for. I personally have never seen people so stressed out at work in 14 years. Some colleagues were truly physically ill. They lost weight, they lost sleep. And quite frankly, doing this during a global pandemic felt cruel. It was ill-planned and it was rushed. People don't generally do their best work when they're incredibly stressed and with their backs up against the wall. If we're going to do this, let's do it right. But with all this being said, what do we do with the small PASHE schools like Clarion who are financially strapped? Our students need us, our communities need us, and just because we're rural makes us no less vital. So something has to change for us to be successful. I know I'm a rare one on all these forums. I'm not personally necessarily opposed to the integration, but I'm opposed to a rushed integration. We need more information. Give us another year to get more information. Give us another year to get our questions answered, and give us another year to plan. My final thought on all of this is, why does our legislature fund both PASHE and Penn State, Pitt, and all the other state-related institutions? Seems like it's shooting us down. It sets PASHE up for underfunding. Penn State and Pitt are not PASHE, they're not system schools. The legislature must stop funding these schools in order for their own PASHE schools to thrive. I ask that the citizens, the chancellor, the board, to push the legislature to stop funding state-related universities. They're essentially funding 2 state systems at the same time. They need to buy into PASHE for our students to get an affordable education. Thank you for listening to my comments. Thank you for all the other commenters so that we can see the other perspectives. It was enjoyable to hear what they had to say, and I hope that we are truly being heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Next, we will go to Peter and then Lisette. So we'll give Peter a moment to come into this space.
Okay. Hello. Good morning, everybody. I'm Peter Stein. I'm chair of physics and engineering at Bloomsburg University. And I have a couple of comments. One is, as far as consolidation, I understand that there'll be some consolidation of departments. There might be a combination of different disciplines, but then there'll be a department that would have faculty from all of the 3 campuses. And this is something that can create this is something that would create really something that's somewhat unmanageable. And so we would have faculty and facilities that are separated by 100 or so miles. And so that'd be really very difficult to manage things like laboratories that way. And then for teaching, mainly, of course, what we do is we do face-to-face instruction. We're a very hands-on department. We do lectures and laboratories. But for some classes, we have developed online instruction, and that is also working fairly well. During COVID, we developed some distance education laboratories in which students are shipped equipment and supplies. They get it by UPS, and at the end of the semester, they return it. But this does not work for most of our labs because the equipment is too expensive or too bulky. And so students really need to be present on the campus for these laboratories. But we have had some success, although limited, with some forms of distance education. But I feel the worst form is what is called the hybrid method. And that seems to be what's being promoted. And with this method, most of the students are face-to-face in the classroom, but then you have a small number of second-class students that are really taking the class by Zoom. And those students really get a totally different experience. It is an inferior experience. And that does lead to a very poor experience in teaching and learning for both the faculty and the students. And so I hope some of these things are considered, and I thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we'll go to Lisette and then Lynn.
Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Good morning. My name is Lisette Schillig. I've been a faculty member in the English department at Lock Haven University for the last 17 years. As the product of public higher education myself, I am a strong believer in the opportunities that a state system like ours provides, particularly for the low-income, at-risk, and first-generation college students that I know I serve. And it is why I strongly appeal to you, the members of the Board of Governors, to oppose this consolidation plan. I believe this current plan will not assure a quality or more affordable education for the students we serve. Rather, I believe the bigger design of this plan is to, in fact, starve institutions in rural counties like mine out of existence, leaving the futures of low-income and middle-income college students in jeopardy. I am deeply troubled how this plan has been pushed based on fear-mongering in the form of the argument that there simply is no alternative, that consolidation is the only way forward, that it has to happen now or the state system will bleed out. Fear-mongering merely encourages people to leap before they look. It means the time and attention needed to address real challenges thoughtfully so that the effects on the ground are anticipated and planned for cannot happen with this fear-mongering. There is simply not enough detail as to how this consolidation will meaningfully enhance student learning, provide student support services that they depend on for success, actually save the students or the system money, or how it will impact the economies of towns like Lock Haven, where I live. The current plan reflects a poor understanding of who our students are, where they come from, what they need. I can attest to multiple conversations I've had with students this past year who have told me that online learning made them feel isolated, disconnected, distracted, alienated from their fellow students, their professors, their support staff, and their university. They talked about how hard it was to learn from home with unreliable Wi-Fi connections, with children to attend to or ailing parents, with part-time or full-time jobs to maintain. They talked about burnout, how easy it was to simply cheat or to check out. And in spite of what some administrators might tell you, that the fault must lie with faculty's insufficient upskilling in their delivery of online classes, it is the online modality itself that limits the rich kind of engagement they need to be successful. Engagement not just with their professors, but with support staff and with each other. Students don't prefer distance learning, but that is what they will get more of if this plan goes forward. Finally, I want legislators to know that departments like mine are already being adversely affected by the proposed consolidation. Half of my department, half will be gone at the end of the next academic year, half, if proposed retrenchments go through. My colleagues were told this week that fall semester classes with healthy enrollments are actually threatened to be canceled with no explanation given or rationale shared. How does this serve students? Yet this is what is happening behind the scenes before this plan is even voted on. You can argue that this right sizing has nothing to do with the consolidation or that somehow it serves students. I'd urge you to question that assertion, as I would urge you to truly consider the grave reservations that are being voiced about this consolidation throughout these public hearings. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisette. And next we'll go to Lynn. And a reminder, if anyone has joined late who would like to make a comment, just click the raise hand feature and I will call on you in the queue. We'll give Lynn a moment to connect.
Okay, can you hear me?
You can. Good morning.
Got to be able to see California Mom, right?
That's right.
I'm back again. Today, I'd like to start with something that Chair Shapiro started with this morning at the beginning of today's session. The comment was that the Board of Governors is committed to the students and that we can accomplish more together than alone. I agree 100% on that. I've been an adjunct instructor at California University of Pennsylvania for 30 years. We need to maintain our individual identities. We all are members of one family, the 14 state systems universities, but we all have individual identities. Our administration, our university president, our provost, and all of the administration at California University of Pennsylvania is our family. We need to keep that individual family. One of the things I've learned through this pandemic, through doing Zoom meetings, is that each one of our university students is an individual. They have individual identities, and nothing is more important than thinking about us all in our little Zoom boxes. We each one have our little Zoom box. Each one of us brings something different to the table, but we are all a collective PASHE, one of the 14 state system schools. Don't ruin that. The action that I'd like to see the board, the leader of the state system, take is to vote against this integration, consolidation. We need, and we've learned it in this pandemic, we need family. Each one of the 14 individual universities is a separate family. They call me California Mom. I am a product of the state system of higher education. I live in California, Pennsylvania. I am part of that individual identity. Please, the leaders of our family, the state system family, please, there are 20 of you, please vote against the integration. Let us remain individuals. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Lynn. Next, we'll go to Susan and then Nick. Susan, I'll just give you a moment to come into the space. And again, if anyone's joined late and you'd like to make a comment, just click the raise hand feature and we'll call on you in order.
Okay, I think you can see and hear me now. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Susan Rimby. I am a graduate of both Bloomsburg and Kutztown State Universities, and I am a retiree who has worked at Millersville, Shippensburg, and Lock Haven. I have been referred to as the poster child for PASHE. I have constantly heard that consolidation needs to take place because enrollments are low at the PASHE universities. Yet Bloomsburg and Lock Haven are as large, if not 2 to 4 times larger than the private and state-related colleges and universities in the Northeast area. Declining enrollments, I believe, is part of this false narrative that other panelists today have mentioned. However, if the problem with PASHE is enrollment, then the solution to me seems to be to close Mansfield and Cheney. Cheney with 618 students and Mansfield with 1,600 students are hardly sustainable. With such low enrollments, neither Mansfield nor Cheney are having much of an economic multiplier effect on their local communities. There is a precedent for closing state-owned educational institutions. Governor Ed Rendell closed Scotland School for Veterans Children during his time in office. The Milton Hershey School took their students, and local Adams and Franklin County school districts hired the Scotland teachers. Surely Mansfield and Cheney faculty and students, if they desired, could be hired and enrolled in other PASHE universities. And the money saved from closing those 2 universities could be used to offset deficits or strengthen programs at the other 12 students. I urge the board to vote no on the consolidation plan, and I thank you for the opportunity to participate today.
Thank you so much, Susan. Next, we'll go to Nick, and then Kate. Give Nick a moment to come into the space.
Good
morning, Nick.
Morning, everyone, and hi again. My name is Nick Marcel. I'm a graduate student at Westchester University. I highly encourage the Board of Governors to vote no on this plan. First I want to state, no, I'm not currently cutting grass, but it still seems like you're cutting public higher education. And then I just sort of question who is here from the Board of Governors. I do see Chairwoman Cindy Shapira, and thank you for being here. But I don't see any of the other Board of Governors faces. Now, I know you said some of them might be watching over the Zoom, so on and so forth, but I really think the public deserves to at least see that. Like, we deserve to see who is here. And this Zoom webinar process is not actually being transparent with that. Only now can I see how many participants are in the room. Only now can I see others like Cody Jones from the Chancellor's staff is in the room. As well, I wanted to mention a quote that I heard from a professor of mine, and something that I really take strongly. A leader without followers is just someone taking a walk. And I really question, Lynn said that there were people here that were leaders. And I question a lot of the people speaking today could be, quote unquote, the followers of these leaders. But I don't see it as such. I see it that there are people here just taking a walk in a direction that people don't want us to go in. I urge you to vote no. I urge you to stop this plan. As well, I just want to say, if anyone out there is listening from the public, please email us at pashydefenders@gmail.com. We are actually trying to push for fully funded higher education. Because I looked in the Chancellor's consolidation plans, they actually changed the word integration to consolidation in the plan. And never was a trajectory considered to actually push the legislature in any way, shape, or form to increase funding. There was the trajectory of dissolving the system, the trajectory of consolidation, never trying to get more funding. As well, Pashy Defenders this weekend, along with some other groups, are having rallies at 3 of the Northeast integrating universities. That being Bloomsburg at noon on June 12th, Lock Haven at 3 p.m. on June 12th, and Mansfield, June 12th at 6 p.m. I consider you join us. Email us at pashydefenders@gmail.com. As well, I just want to say thank you very much for those in the public who are sitting here listening to these comments. I really question to myself who from the Board of Governors is listening, who is going to get the Cliff Notes version, and who here right now is listening, because I saw last evening, I saw Chancellor Greenstein probably on his phone. I did see Dr. Hanna on his phone visibly, and others potentially not paying attention. So I just question that. But I do thank you, Randy, because you seemed very attentive during all of this. Thank you very much for letting me speak, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you, Nick. Next, we'll go to Kate and then Philip. Give Kate a moment to come into the space.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm back again for morning too, but I did watch the YouTube webinar last night. I've read the plan. I've read it like many of other people on the list have said. I'm sorry, hold on one second. I'm sorry. I'm also currently at my internship, like multitasking here, answering the phone. But I've been sitting listening for hours. I've read the plan. I've investigated the website like to the best of my ability. I've sat in on the Board of Governors meetings and I thought I was missing something. But I've now heard from faculty, staff, and students across the state that really don't understand the nitty-gritty of this plan. This 300 and something page document that has been put out is actually shorter than the strategic plans of some of the departments that run our degree programs. So I even further, like I thought I was missing appendices, something, but students don't understand how their internships are going to continue. As a post-traditional student that is now back as a post-traditional grad student, we don't understand the services that we rely on, right? Being over 26 years old and a grad student, we get paid less than the work study students. However, it's still almost impossible for many of us to afford healthcare. We rely heavily on the health centers. And it's not clear whether or not we're still going to be able to get flu shots, the necessary diphtheria testing that you have to do to work with children. We don't understand how the testing that is done for things like teacher certification, since many of the PASHE schools have testing sites on center, we're not sure if they're still going to be open. When I had to take my test before Westchester had its testing center open, I had to drive past Allentown to take the test because it was the only place in the entire region that had like the ability to fit in my state certification test before student teaching. I'm fortunate. I have a car. There's no explanation of how the public transit is going to take people from campus to campus because the center of the state has almost a non-existent public transit system. So these hybrid classes, we don't understand how we're supposed to get there. There are so many parts of this plan that we don't understand at all. That I don't know, that it's like inconceivable to me how we're voting on this integration plan when even the larger details of consolidating the departments isn't clear to the people in the departments that are going to be consolidated, let alone the nitty-gritty of the student experience, which, like the health centers, we rely on heavily and sometimes exclusively to get community resources, like how to find local clinics that will take us for a reduced price when we don't have insurance. My time has again expired, but I appreciate your time. We just don't understand this plan at all.
Thank you, Kate. And next we'll go to Philip. And we'll give Philip a moment to get into the space.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, my name is Philip Huebner. I'm a graduate of Kutztown University, and I've been living in Lock Haven, about a half mile from the campus for the last 22 years. I don't own a business and I don't own rental properties, so I'm still very concerned about the impact of the integration on the local community. If this proposal goes through, I really think that we're going to see a diminished amount of students on campus. I'm not sure how that's going to affect the fabric of the campus or the community. And that's, I guess, my main concern. I'm not sure if we know what's going to happen. We've already at Lock Haven University seen important programs like dance, music, theater, chorus, all been eliminated. I think bands even in question. And we still don't know how it's going to impact the university sports, university lectures, visiting scholars, all things that are very, very important to the Lock Haven community. So I do urge you to at least take time and extend the amount of time it takes to look at this issue, to consider it a little bit more carefully, to find out more thoroughly what the impact will be, and maybe do some pilot programs in order to find the answers to these questions. Community members are concerned about this. Our local governance our county and our mayor have all voiced concern in Lock Haven. So we ask you, please, as a community at Lock Haven, to please take the time to consider this more completely before voting. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Philip. Are there any others who'd like to make a comment? If so, just click the raise hand feature. All right. There are no other hands raised, Madam Chair. So thank you. Oh, there's one. Hold on. John. Cool. Move you to the panel. And you can activate your audio and video, John. John lowered his hand, so. All right. Any other hands? If not. All right, no more hands. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Randy, thank you very, very much. I just want to thank everybody who participated this morning. Your comments are really important. We are listening to them. We're taking notes. We are really absorbing what is being said. And your participation in this process is what will really strengthen it. So I just apologize on my end if there were any domestic disturbances while my my Zoom camera and microphone were on. There might have been, you know, such as the issue of doing these things from home. But other than that, again, thank you everybody for being here today. Dan, did you have anything further you wanted to add before we adjourn?
Only to echo your thanks, Cindy, and also to thank our presidents, Thorne, Hannah, Patterson, and Pearson for participating in these sessions as well. It's great to have everybody here thinking together. So thanks so much.
Thanks, and thanks to our board members too who are listening. All right, we will adjourn then, and we will have a fourth public hearing later this afternoon at 4:30.